Father, as we search and probe into the whole subject of angels, this is a great area that you write much about, and we want to know more because it really reflects who you are. It's not a fascination about others; it's a fascination about you and how you've designed and created the whole of this drama of this display that we get to see. And Lord, we want to probe as much as we can and understand it in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, we are in Genesis 19. We already started that 2 weeks ago. And this is really probably our first angel, besides the cherub, that we're actually talking about angels. In chapter 18, we've seen that there is 3 people. Now they're just the angels. So we're familiar that they go to Sodom and Gomorrah. They kind of go out in the marketplace. They want to be, Lot asked them to come home. And in verse 3, it talks about he urged them strongly, but he doesn't know that they're angels. This is like it says in Hebrews, entertaining angels unaware, Hebrews chapter 13, verse 2. And so he doesn't know, and it's interesting how it points out that it uses actually the word not Adam, for man, but it actually uses the word male when it refers to them. And so the thing is that they want to come in. Let's jump down. So in verse 5, the men of Sodom want to come in, want to know about these men, and this is where it describes them as males, and bring them out to us that we have relationship with them. And I think that's where we left off. And Lot went out to them at the doorway and shut it behind him, and he tells them, please, my brothers, do not act wickedly. I mean, we could go off the whole thing about wickedness, the whole idea of homosexuality, and but I mean, we're going to keep kind of on the angel part. So then he offers a poor excuse to, here are my daughters, a very bad decision, typical of Lot's poor decision making. In other areas as well. So he offers his daughters, but it's a bad solution. And then we get into verse 9. This is where we're going to start. I'm going to start with Craig over there. And Genesis 19:9, it says, but they said, stand aside. Furthermore, they said, this one came in as an alien and already is acting like a judge. Now we will treat you worse than them. So they pressed hard against Lot and came near to break the door.
So they're telling them, stand aside. He said they're looking at him as an outsider himself.
Yep.
And he's not one of them. And he's acting like he's their judge.
Yep. Is he? He is.
Sure.
Right? He's telling them they're doing wrong, right? He's already said they're wicked. This is the typical excuse of what? Unbelievers, right? They are acting wickedly, and what is going to happen to them? Yeah, they are. So, how people say, oh, you're judging me. Well, the thing is...
You can't judge me.
Exactly. Yep, so they press hard, and they want to break the door down. So this is where the angel starts. Dan says, but the men reached out their hands and brought Lot into the house with them and shut the door.
Comes from getting squished into the door, breaking the door down.
Yep.
Somehow they were strong enough, so I don't know if the door opened or closed back then, I have no idea. But
It probably was in swinging.
But they were very strong to push them off.
Yeah, they probably can only get so many people squeezed up against it, but we'll see in a minute. But they grab him, right?
They grab him, bring him into safety, and shut the door.
Now, what are these angels? This is where he's going to find out that they're angels. Jay Walker says, they struck the men who were at the doorway of the house with blindness, both small and great, so that they wearied themselves trying to find the doorway.
Yeah.
So what do you find out about angels?
They can strike you blind.
Right. So he can strike blindness. I mean, demons can make people blind, right?
Yeah, what's that? Yeah.
Demons can make people blind. Remember the demons who possession and part of the reason why they were.
Yeah, they can make you deaf.
Yep.
Where is that at?
That is in.
No, it's in Matthew.
I didn't write it down.
It's okay, I'll find it.
Yep.
It's an gospel.
Yeah.
Why does it say both small and great? Is that describing the guys or the blindness?
Jay, tell us.
Say that again.
You said it. Who are the small and great?
Oh, the people trying to knock down the door.
Yeah, but who are they? Like what's?
People of the neighborhood.
They're like short people.
Oh, no, they're probably they're well. They can see. But it's probably more the people that they're great. They got more in stature, less in stature.
Yeah, so they're people that are like important people, and then just ordinary folk.
So even important people are trying to rage.
Yeah, so the whole thing is this is not just an incident that it's just a bunch of ruffians. Okay, these are people of significant to the town. So the whole thing includes a whole spectrum of people. So, striking blind. What's going to happen in say a day and a half? What's going to happen to these people?
Still be blind.
No, they're going to be more than blind.
They'll be judged. They'll be dead. Yeah.
Yeah, aren't these same angels going to do it?
Yeah.
So why didn't he just kill them?
Why didn't they do that then? Yeah.
I can't do anything until they're in the clear.
Yeah, but he could have killed them.
Could have whacked them.
But why?
Maybe because throw some terror in them, rough them up a little.
He doesn't rough them up at all. They just can't see.
Well, blindness, it's freaking them out.
Yeah.
Does it go back to Abraham's discussion with them before they went there about saving? If there's just one man there, will you not destroy the city?
Yeah, I think they already went past that. They couldn't find anybody anyways.
Well, but they're considering Lot as they're there to get him out. Really,
Right.
We find out later. We don't know that yet in the story, but
Or the simplest thing is God wants them destroyed by how?
Fire.
By fire and brimstone.
yes.
He doesn't want the angels to kill them. He wants to make a point.
Yeah.
So they have strict orders
Right.
to do it a certain way. They can't go beyond. They can't just say, you guys are going to be dead in a day and a half. I'm just going to do it now. You're done. Right? He doesn't do that.
Yeah.
They just pull them back in, blind them. What? It just prevents them from doing anything.
Right.
But now they've revealed that they're angels, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like anybody. Well, I mean, Paul made.
did it,
Yeah. Remember, he did it with the magician.
Yeah.
Yep. Any other blindness?
Huh?
Any other prophet do blindness? Yeah. Remember, I think it was Elijah blinded all the soldiers, and then they took him to. Remember, he took him to the city of Samaria and then unblinded them. Yeah, so this is definitely supernatural. Dave, verse 12, it says, Then the two men said to Lot, Who else have you here? A son-in-law and your sons and your daughter and whoever you have in the city, bring them out of the place. So what's his developing idea here? What's going on?
Now they're taking charge of what's going to happen. They're now directing Lot what to do. They came as visitors. Now they're showing their authority.
Right.
They're
He's kind of revealed that they've kind of revealed that they're more than just men.
yes.
Right.
Well, when he saw that they're blind, they probably, okay, what's going on? And he's like, okay, they're giving me instructions. They're in charge. Okay, I recognize their authority over me.
Yeah. See, they could have came up to at least 2 daughters, husband and wife, and the 2 son-in-laws, but they can't even find son-in-laws. Don't want to go. So, and
Does it tell us how many people were? It says small and great. Like there's a whole lot of them in this pushed.
Well, you realize the son-in-law is probably not in the place of being blinded. So it just means there's people of authority and people who are not of authority doing the same thing. So there's this homosexual rage going on. So
he just blinded the ones that came in the house.
yeah, he just blinded not everybody in the city because his son-in-laws aren't blind. So he has to go find them while these people are blind. So I guess they're preoccupied now. And verse 13 it says, "For we are about to destroy this place because their outcry has become so great before the Lord that the Lord has sent us to destroy it."
God's a holy God, so it's like he had to destroy Sodom, and more send his angels down to, and I think Lot was saved because of Abraham's intercession.
Well, it is. It's really mercy. The thing is that the whole point is that Lot isn't much better than the people in the city, only because God has selected him as such.
So you don't think it's not because of Abraham?
It is. It's connected to Abraham, but it's God's mercy.
Right.
Yeah. So the thing is as a connected mercy to him. So, tell us about the angels. Is there anything in here that tells us about the angels? Anything odd about it?
The angels are going to destroy the place.
So the angels are actually going to be the destroying.
Right.
So they're brimstone and fire angels, right? They get to throw the hot stuff. Yeah.
So it seems like so God told Abraham he was going to go and investigate and make a conclusion about judgment, right? And that's what the angels are doing. And the last few verses, they investigated, they made their conclusion, and now they're declaring judgment. It's almost like, like how the Navy SEALs have the earpiece and they're communicating back and forth. Like they know they're able to somehow communicate with God or know that that's what they need to do, in the midst of what they're doing.
Yeah, there almost is a sense in which the angels are verifying, but they know what to do. It's already been decreed, but at the same time, they are part of. They have to. They could have just destroyed the place, right? They didn't have to see all the people out there, right? They didn't have to interact with them. But it almost seems like God designed it so the angels had to interact with these people who were evil.
So maybe they had a war room of this happens, you do this. This is A, and this is interaction A, then conclusion B. Interaction B.
We'll see. It gets like they're making choices. It's hard to realize, but it's kind of like God gives them discernment in how, again, it's the same thing. God does the same thing to us. We make decisions. We see that God's leading, but we're not being told directly. It's not like it could be the earpiece, but sometimes it's just not. But God gives us leadings to do that. But we'll see. We'll pick up some more of that. And the thing is that they know it's really great before God. So how does this outcry work, Ann? I mean, does outcries end up in heaven? Is there a... Yeah.
Because the Bible says the eyes of the Lord go to and fro across the earth to see.
But how do the angels know about it?
God let them know. He told them.
Yeah, or the thing is, there just may be some sort of other communication too. Either God has said it. Okay, that's could be the obvious one, or there's some sort of way in which sin has its...
Where the angels can see what's happening on earth.
Yeah, or know what's happening, or informed what's happening. Sin has its own communication. I don't know.
Or they've been dispatched for other things and observed the sin happening.
They seemed a little... At times, the angels seem not directly connected to everything on earth. They can watch, but it's kind of like, a very small camera lens.
Right.
They don't get to show up whenever they want. All right, Amy, It says, when Lot went out and spoke to his son-in-laws who were to marry his daughters, the ones he tried to give away, and said, up, get out of this place, for the Lord will destroy the city. But he appeared to his son-in-laws to be jesting. Tell me about the angel or interaction, or just give me a summary of.
All right, Lot's trying to communicate the message that they told him, and obviously they don't.
Did he?
They think he's joking.
But did he take it seriously that it's true? Right?
Yeah.
He does. Right? He believes the.
But they just think it's a joke.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, it's gonna be destroyed. And
why do they think it might be joking? What would convey that? What are the possibilities of why they would perceive it? They could perceive that, oh, this couldn't happen, right?
Yeah, maybe there's the possibility, or maybe they just thought he was like a crazy guy. Like
maybe they thought he was that way anyways.
Married his daughters.
Yeah.
They already just like, oh, here we go again on the God thing. Oh, yep, sin and all that stuff. People can just think you're kind of a lunatic.
Or it could always be joking. That's another option.
But if you think about it, like when someone just randomly was like, "Oh, there's gonna be fire coming down, like in a little bit," we're all gonna be like, "Okay," and
Yeah.
like it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so there's different ways that they think he's joking. Those are some options. We don't know what it is. It just, they don't perceive him as serious and they don't listen to him. So they're going to be under judgment.
So these weren't actually his son-in-laws yet, though, because it says who were to marry his daughters, meaning they hadn't married them yet.
Right, they hadn't married, but it's still like, like the engagement is almost the same thing, so. Dan?
They may be engaged, but they have, who knows what they're doing when they're not at work or anything else. They could be out running with the rest of the town going. And I think it's a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, so they don't see it as, partly is pride always generates the idea that nothing's going to happen. Everything's continues such as it is from the beginning. So, plus they're brought under the judgment.
It's a different kind of blindness. He blind their senses, understand the ears.
Yeah.
Understanding wasn't given to them. They just going to go down with the ship.
Yeah, he tries to do it. I mean, he tries, at least he makes the attempt because the angels ask him to do it, right? Yeah. And he does what the angel says. Who do you have? And he says, these are the people I'm connected to. So he actually he follows, is that the instruction that God gave him? Say, hey, when you get there, you have these three. I don't know. It seems like the angels are operating under certain, get Lot and anything connected to him. Okay, and then they have to ask the questions. Because they have to ask questions because they don't know. So, Paul, you had some.
He doesn't seem like a very serious guy when it comes to spiritual life. I never want to be the kind of guy where it's like when it comes to serious spiritual matters, people are like, no, we ain't really gonna believe it.
That's the problem of living next to Sodom or pitching your tent next to Sodom, because that's why his righteous soul is vexed, because.
In a way, it was a mercy to his daughters.
Yeah, it turns out odd.
We'll get to that.
Yeah. All right, Hope.
That's no good either.
Genesis 19:15. It says, when morning dawned, the angels urged Lot, saying, up, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, or you will be swept away in the punishment of the city.
Well, the angels get up early in the morning.
Yes.
They did a rude awakening, but they told them to get up. It's about that time and get out.
So are the angels on a time sequence?
Yeah.
So angels, this is an interesting thing, is that angels, they don't take God's thing in the sense that say, well, today judgment or tomorrow, we'll take our time and it's no big hurry.
It was the time they needed to get up. It was the
Right?
alarm clock.
Yeah, so the thing is, angels seem to operate in time just like we do. They're not outside of time. They're in the same time. Why would they be urging unless there's a time to be met? And they sense this. Also, why does he say about sweeping away the city in punishment? What are they doing to motivate him?
He's letting them know the severity of the situation.
Yeah,
You can't just be like, oh, we'll get out in a little bit. Like, no, it's about to be gone.
Yeah.
There's nothing going to be left.
Because they don't say things like, "No, you're good. God's going to make sure." Yeah, we got another day. You can take your time because God said that we couldn't destroy the city without you.
So they were just standing in this house, like just hanging out.
Yeah. You said angels that are visitors just hang out.
Well, they ate, in the previous verses. They seem to...
He offered them food. It doesn't say necessarily. It does imply that they ate, but he does offer them. But Alicia, let's do 16. It says, but he hesitated. So the men seized his hand and the hand of his wife and the hands of his 2 daughters, for the compassion of the Lord was upon him, and they brought him out and put him outside the city. This has got a lot of stuff here.
Yep. So Lot remains. So then the men take Lot and his wife and his daughters, and then they go out. But the Lord is merciful, so the Lord removes them outside the city so that they won't be destroyed.
Okay, so the thing is that we know the reason why is because of the compassion of God. But what does it tell you about the angels?
Well, in the previous verse, we realized that they were trying to give them warning.
Right.
But now they're like, time's up.
Right. The thing is, so they're operating on a time schedule, aren't they? Mm-hmm. They know that there's a certain time schedule. It's not like, we got days. We can hang out. No big deal.
And they also had a direct command from God, apparently, that
Lot
needed to be out of the city.
Yeah. So.
Because they both grabbed his hands and were like, let's go.
So what does it tell you, Alicia, about hands? About angels?
That they physically have hands.
Yeah, they can actually grab our hands. Right?
Yeah.
So it means that they can actually physically touch. I mean, they may not have flesh and bone, but they got hands. So, and they can seize hands. They can grab hands. Right?
How do you think that works? Because they don't always, do they go back and forth between dimensions here, or?
Seems like it.
You know what I mean?
Seems like, because they're spiritual beings, but they can have physical forms. And the thing is that, of course, we're physical beings, and we can have spiritual forms.
Yeah, I think like Christ, even after he was resurrected, he seemed to have dual.
So this whole thing is just like, what other options? We're going to speculate here, Alicia. So the whole point is like, how could this have been done another way? I mean, if you're an angel, your assignment, Alicia, you're an angel. Your assignment is to get Lot out or destroy the city. What's your quickest way to solve this problem?
I'd just be like, out.
Yeah, you just go in there, grab them, drag them out the city, right?
I'm not going to hold your hand and take you out.
Yeah, just push them out. So the thing is that all this interaction, I mean, think of it from the standpoint of an angel, right? You're going there, you got assignment, and the assignment is, you got to get Lot, and you got a dialogue with them. You're trying to say, come on, Lot, we got to get going here. You're procrastinating, you're holding, time's up. Time's up, we're grabbing your hands, we're taking you out. So they got enough hands to take 2 daughters, so they got to...
Yeah, it sounds like
it's like
out the door to get in the car.
Yeah.
Sounds like every Sunday morning.
So they couldn't do like a Philip teleport, apparently. That wasn't like available.
Right, they couldn't do like a Philip thing, just boom, out of the city. Now, how far do they take them, Alicia?
Outside the city.
Right, but they don't take them far enough outside the ring of judgment, right? So they don't go any farther than the city.
It's like, watch, I told you to get out.
Yeah, I got you halfway, and then we're going to get to the next part. You had some...
They know the sureness of what God is going to do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There is no, I don't get my job done. Okay.
Yeah. No.
He's getting hard enough out that I'm out of responsibility. It really is what it's doing, because he doesn't take them all the way. But he also could have taken them the night before also.
Right.
He gave them some time to think through the whole thing,
But,
and then it's like, time's up. We're going. You don't have
right. The thing is that it's kind of like it's like, it is kind of odd. Like, what's the hurry? I mean, they were just as wicked yesterday as they'll be wicked today, as they'll be wicked tomorrow. But it seems like they're on a time schedule, and they're being pressed to do this. It's kind of like we can't stick around in the land of the living or whatever very long here.
So it does seem like though Lot could have in some way resisted, like verse 15, lest you be swept away in the punishment of the city. And though God had compassion and they physically, I mean, he could have laid down and kicked and screamed and threw a tantrum.
Right.
And like, okay, done. Like, okay, you're going to get...
So they're kind of making decision. The thing is, but they're applying now physical pressure. And somehow they get the what? Yeah. They get the option to what? Grab them. Yeah. Okay? I don't think this was direct orders. Like every 5 seconds. So God, what do we do now? They're not willing to go. They just grab them.
You know these guys went back to heaven with a story to tell. Like, do you believe these idiots? Like, they're ready. Like, do you know what about this? Like, happened, the fire, the brimstone, we're driving the guys down the city.
And if we realize that angels are involved and aware of what's going on, they're participating in the other side of the story. I mean, they're the other beings that are self-aware. They're the only other beings in the universe that are self-aware besides ourselves. And they're the flip side of us. They're mostly spiritual, but can be physical. We're mostly physical, and we can be spiritual. So the whole idea is that there is a certain identity God wants us to see interconnecting that they provide. It's like, how many times do we like kids, right? Little kids, but are you following God's instruction? Yeah, the thing is say for instance, when they're little, we're going to church. I'm grabbing your hands, or you're not going to walk on the street or whatever. And the thing is not like you have to say, God, should I grab my kids' hands to get them into the car?
You've decided it's not an option.
Yeah.
We're going and that's it.
But it seems like it's the same thing. You're carrying out God's responsibility and at the same time, I don't think there is have to have direct God is leading them. It's kind of
so much patience that you can have when somebody is hesitating to move it along.
Yeah, it's just like
we're just going. Let's go.
Well, because the thing is, they're pressed against the judgment. Verse 17, Marinella, it says, when they had brought them outside, one said, escape for your life. Do not look behind you, and do not stay anywhere in the valley. Escape to the mountains, or you will be swept away. This doesn't sound like you'll be okay. Take your time. Tell us about it. Tell us about this interaction with the angel. I mean, what kind of methodology does the angels use? Why don't they take him the rest of the way?
Well, they needed to destroy the city for sure.
Yep.
And there was a boundary.
So the angels had a boundary in their judgment, right?
Yeah. And they probably had to stay because it was coming.
So for some reason, they had to tell them, now it's time for you to run.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So they don't do everything.
No. It's almost like, you have to do something on your own, too.
Right.
I was just thinking about the hesitation. To me, I felt like the angels were frustrated with them. Because...
Now, can angels be frustrated? Now remember, I am Gabriel, and I stand before God. Remember that one?
Yeah.
It's kind of like,
I'm Gabriel,
yeah, and you're not listening, so how about a little silent treatment?
Yeah, I just felt like a frustration with
Yeah.
God because he was hesitating, like he was questioning what was going to happen.
Well, and they expected what Lot to do?
To leave.
To listen.
Yeah, to listen.
And he wasn't listening.
No.
And he wasn't obeying the instruction. It sounds like a parent.
Yeah.
You're not listening. Yeah. Or a leader or whatever. But you realize that they have expectations. You need to listen. So they're watching how you guys don't listen.
No, we didn't listen. And he warned them again.
And the thing is, what happens is he threatens them, doesn't he?
Yeah, it sounds like a threat.
But he just said he had the mercy of, but he's still using the threat, right?
Yeah.
The possibility of judgment is still.
And I think Lot is still not believing it either. I don't know. I see Lot.
Well, he gets running. He gets running soon, but his wife is not as as excited.
Yeah, I don't believe it. I have no idea.
How do we pull in verse 22
Which one?
when it says, "Hurry, you need to go. I can't do this till you're gone."
Right. Exactly.
So
He's using verbal exhortation to tell them to run to fulfill exactly what he says.
right, but he says, "I can't do this until you're gone."
Right.
To
Yeah.
where you need to be.
Well, it
So-
almost seems like
so-
he's using. Yeah, exactly.
So, did he have control when it starts? Or not? Right? We said he may not have control. He has a time frame, but
he
I
may.
can't start till you get there.
Well, because he wants him to run now, he doesn't have to drag him the rest of the way. I don't know. It is kind of
You
interesting.
probably got angel dinner at home, and you doesn't want to miss it.
You
You
got
gotta hurry. The potatoes are getting cold. I just got a message.
the fire and brimstone thing has to be happening.
Right, we gotta do this so I can get back.
All right, Paul. Says, but Lot said to them, "Oh no, my Lord. Now behold, your servant has found favor in your sight, and you have magnified your loving kindness, which you have shown me by saving my life. But I cannot escape to the mountains, for the disaster will overtake me, and I will die." Let's get this whole thing. Now behold, this town is near enough to flee, and it is small. Please let me escape there. If is it not small, that my life may be saved?
So I think he needs a big angel kick in the butt. I mean, this guy invested.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Like, he's been shown every level of mercy. His life is at the hinging point. It's like he just keeps pushing it.
Yeah, but the thing is, we see a lot in the New Testament in the idea of his righteous soul being vexed. This is the Christian who's saved, who isn't living very good. And the thing is that he's weak.
Like, what's the deal with the town, though? Like, he's got a fascination with a village or something. Like,
Yeah.
He can't be outside, like,
Yeah.
he get allergies or something. Like, I can't live in the field.
Well, yeah.
I need to be next to somebody.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, he doesn't end up going there anyways. But the town is actually saved because of Lot's request.
Yeah.
So it's the only town that's saved because he asked.
Yeah, but even like, this is not small. It's just a small little place.
Yeah. But the thing is, he's negotiating. Can angels negotiate?
Apparently.
Yeah, it does seem. Craig, won't you do this one? And he said to him, "Behold, I grant this request also, not to overthrow the town which you have spoken."
So he's agreeing to save the town.
Did he check with God?
Whatever I have to say, just get out of here.
But did he have to check with God on it?
Doesn't seem like it.
I mean, what does that make you think about it? I mean,
Angels can work their own discretion.
yeah,
In some points.
and God could use it, right? Can God use you working in your own discretion? Isn't that interesting? Even though you got a mission, purpose, God is big enough, large enough, and angels function. I mean, it seems like he's says, "Okay, go ahead, that's fine. We won't destroy that city." It's just like, well, how does he do this? Well, I get, like you said, he has choices he can make.
We're not sure God was happy with it.
Yeah, I mean,
But he didn't sin because he wouldn't be an angel anymore.
do you think there's any chance, like, in Lot's defense, that like God had called him to be like the preservation of the city? And I always look at Lot bad.
What happens is God uses even evil to bring about good. That's how big God is, right? He uses the cross, the evil of the cross, and turns it into good. He uses the idea of this or that, and he changes it. That's what God's overriding ability is, to use even evil to ultimately use error or foolishness, because it points out that this city is actually spared because of Lot's request. And the angel agreed. So the angel and Lot have spared this city. Right?
Yes.
And God agrees. God
God didn't take it out still.
right. Dan, hurry, escape therefore, for I cannot do anything until you arrive there. Therefore, the name of that town was Zorah.
Tells them to get there.
You got to get there, right?
Urgency.
Is
You
he-
got to process everything you know, everything your life can be destroyed. Now hurry up and go, what? You know, snap out of it. That thing. Yeah.
I mean, think about this. The angel is pleading with him, right?
Yep.
He is actually actively involved at displaying God's mercy. Right? The angel is the instrument, just like we are instruments. You understand? See how the similarity? We are instruments, they are instruments.
The choice was words. Like, come on, stupid, get going. He just didn't degrade him, didn't do anything else.
Nope.
Didn't use sarcasm. He just, urgency. Go.
So he finally tells him, I can't do anything. Now what happens is this thing, he basically says, we're on a time schedule. I want you to pick up on the time schedule that I have and work with me, right?
Get out of here now.
Yeah, get out of there.
Apparently the town's close enough they can see it happening.
Yeah, well, he doesn't actually go to the town, so.
Fire from heaven would be
On the way there.
Yeah, he gets in that direction, but again, the angel has this kind of like, I can't do anything till you get there. So, the question, Dan, how does the angel know that he got there?
It says in 23, the sun had risen over the earth and Lot came Zorah.
Yeah, but he doesn't stay there. He just
No, yeah,
leaves.
just for a minute. He was like he pushed out, you know, the porch is safe.
Yeah.
We used to call that when playing tag, the place you couldn't get,
Free base.
yeah, go back home base, yeah, right?
Yeah.
Base.
So, how does the angel know he arrives?
In the safe zone.
Well, I would imagine
God told him.
he would know.
No, the B team is up above. It's like satellites. You know, they're watching.
He's good! He's good! You can go!
But you understand, it just tells us that he knows when he gets there and starts the destruction. I don't know if he has great sight. I don't have any idea. But
Foretold it, didn't know how long God take this long once he's there.
Yeah.
Who knows? We don't know. We don't know.
or another angel tells him. One angel leaves. I mean, they could travel fast. I don't know. You don't know.
Sure, he could have grabbed him and swim out of there.
Yeah. But he didn't. He didn't do it because he has to run. He has to escape. He has to flee. Because it's going to be what? Part of future instruction.
Right.
Is it not?
It's coming up, yes.
It's guard of future instruction for at least, yeah, we get Lot's wife. So they go there. Then they rain down on Sodom and Gomorrah. 27. They're gonna says, and he overthrows the cities. Tells the prediction. Okay, now we got Jay. But his wife, from behind him, looked back, and she became a pillar of salt.
Well, he knew it was coming.
I mean, all she was is watching what was going on. What's wrong with that?
She wouldn't desired what she was leaving.
What?
She missed it.
How do you know?
I really don't. When you look back, it wasn't just your regular look back. It was,
What did the angel say?
don't do it. Don't look back.
Don't look back.
Yeah.
That's all it. So,
And she did. It's like telling
so
her to
who
sit down.
who brought the judgment? The angel? God?
Brought her on herself by disobeying.
Right. She brought it on herself, but who turned her into a pillar of salt?
Probably God.
She didn't turn in. I mean, the salt, the earth didn't like reach up and.
I don't know. She just dried out. Yeah.
It's dried out.
For some reason, she forgot her sunscreen.
Yeah.
Because she wanted to go back.
Yeah.
That was the reason.
She was still tied to the city.
She
She
forgot
didn't.
something.
How do we know that?
Farther on. In Luke, right, or something, tells him not to look back. Oh, when we're lost.
There we go. Good one.
So the thing is, we know from the New Testament, we get the implication there. She was told not to. The angel somehow brings it to pass. Okay? Whether it's God is reacting to the words of the angel. Is he not? Or the angel is what? Causing it to be. Bringing the judgment. I mean, I don't know any other people turned into salt, so I don't really got a context for that. But
It's not an example.
so,
What is the significance with the salt? I was studying this the other day, and it's like, there's nothing like that's ever happened.
and nothing.
Before since.
No.
It's like a single, I mean, it's like something out of a movie that doesn't have any...
Well, I think it's just the salt could just be a different mineral than everything else around there, so that it sticks out. I don't know. It doesn't last very long because salt will melt. So it's not like she's turned into granite, so you can see her again.
Right. It just seems really strange. I mean, like, what is that?
There's no explanation. There's no good explanation for why it was salt that I know of.
Like, I'm like, is there any backdrop? Usually when God does something, there's like this happened and this happened.
Yeah.
With the pillar of salt, there's nothing.
This is the point. There's two possible points, Dave, since you're working on this. So this is the verse before. Remember Lot's wife. So we're supposed to remember a certain way. And let's do that one. It will be just the same way when the Son of Man is revealed. On that day, the one who is on the housetop and whose goods are in the house must not go down to take them out. Likewise, the one who is in the field must not turn back.
This is the revelation part when God reveals to Israel that they need to run.
Right, yeah.
To
No turning back.
no turn. Yeah.
So she's illustrating what? Remember Lot's wife by not what?
By not
Turning.
turning back.
They
She
turn.
turned back because
Don't go get your stuff.
stuff.
Right, so we knew
Well, if he'd have
the
passed
connection.
the night before, he'd have taken some stuff. But since he waited till the morning, he couldn't
Yeah, she probably forgot her best shoes and didn't make her favorite hat.
But she had an affection for that. So that's the verse before that. Look at the verse after it. It says, whoever seeks to keep his life will lose it, and whoever loses his life will preserve it. What would that convey?
That meant that there was something back there I wanted, and God says, I am up here. This is where you need to go.
Right. So the thing is that it's the same thing. We need to look forward to what salvation is and turn back, not turn back to the old. And this is the idea, is that she tried to keep her life back in Sodom and thinks she loses her life. She's just an illustration of losing her life. Amy.
When I went to Israel, there actually is in that valley a pillar of salt still there. There's no salt anywhere around there. There literally is still a pillar of salt there.
Yeah.
And they say it's like the remembrance of lots. Like, who knows if it was actually her, but they said there's still this weird pillar of salt, and then there's Sodom and Gomorrah where it would have been like in the valley.
Yeah.
It was like up farther, and I remember them saying that. I just looked it up, and it's still there.
Yep.
So it's a possibility.
Another reminder, and
it's an odd.
Yeah.
It's an abnormality that there's just this weird salt tower.
Yeah. And that they're also Sodom and Gomorrah have fire and brimstone, like somehow it got burnt up.
Yeah.
And remember, the reason why the judgment is to be fire and brimstone is because God wanted that to be the picture. That's why the angels, I don't think, killed them. They could have killed them. No, but God said it had to be fire and brimstone. And these angels could what? Bring on fire and brimstone. And so they need to remember Lot, his wife. So that's the end of that angel event. Any questions? Any extra comments? Otherwise, we're jumping to the next one in Genesis 22. Now, we talked about this a while ago, but to bring this is an angel of the Lord passage, but I need to give you the context, what's going on. So this is Abraham called to offer Isaac as a sacrifice. So it came about, verse 1, now it came about in these after these things that God tested Abraham and said to him, Abraham, and he said, here I am. So Abraham is tested, not tortured. He is called to obey. There seems to be a paradox, to obey God and to follow his ways. This test for Abraham, but a future display of God's provision for man. And he said to him, Take now your son, your only son, whom you love, Isaac, and go to the mount, to the land of Moriah, and offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains of which I will tell you. So this is where it gets, and we talked about this. Remember what, my son, my only son. Who's that sound like? Sounds like Christ talking about the Father talking about the Son. He is the beloved Son. He's my only Son. There's New Testament passages for that. And where's the land of Moriah? Where's that?
Somewhere in the Middle East.
This is actually the temple, where the temple is built.
Okay.
So where this sacrifice, remember this sacrifice?
I remember. Yeah, that's what David, the threshing floor.
Yep. So the temple was built there, and this is exactly the same mountain area that Jesus dies on the cross. So he saddles up his donkey, brings the wood. And remember, we talked about the wood there used. It's often used in the New Testament. It's the same wood that's described that Jesus was hung on a tree. Same word, Greek word translationed from the Old Testament Hebrew to English. So they have different words for trees, but this was zulon, and it's used here. It's the same word that they used in Galatians, where it says, "Cursed is everyone who hangs on a tree." So you're going to find out in a little bit here, and he says, third day, Abraham raised his eyes and saw the place. Verse 5, Abraham said to the young man, "Stay here, we're going to go and worship and return." We are going to return, part of the faith element, but Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it on Isaac his son. Isaac had to carry the wood, and he took hand as fire, so the two of them walked on together. Isaac spoke to Abraham, his father, and said, "My father," and he says, "Here am I, my son." And he said, "Behold the fire and the wood, but where's the lamb for the burnt offering?" Now, this is an important statement here. Abraham said, God will provide for himself the lamb for the burnt offering. Now, this is the word that we talked about, is the word for see. See. Like to see. It is used, in a sense, we use the word see like we use the word see to it. God is going to see to it. This is where God is sovereign or providential or controlling and providing. As a father, he's going to provide for himself, notice how the thing, for himself, a lamb, a substitute for the burnt offering. Okay? It's interesting because it's going to be named the place. The place is going to be named the place where Yahweh provides. So God provides, sees to it that it's taken care of. Because he sees to it himself. That's why he takes care of it. Then they came to the place which God told him. Abraham built an altar there, arranged the wood. Notice, arranged the wood, laid it out. See the imagery in the cross. Bound his son Isaac, laid him on the altar on top of the wood. Abraham stretched out his hand, took the knife to slay his son. And now we have the angel. I think Anne, right? Here we go. But the angel of the Lord called him from heaven and said, "Abraham, Abraham." And he said, "Here I am." Who is this angel?
Or Jesus.
So if this is Jesus,
right.
How significant is it that what is this angel doing?
Preventing him from killing his son.
Who told him to do that?
Well, God did. Yeah.
So
God wanted to test his obedience.
So this is just not a normal angel, because an angel is telling him not to do it.
Right.
This angel is a different angel.
Right.
This is why we get it, the idea that it's Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
But Jesus is stopping what?
Stopping Abraham from killing his son.
His son, his only son.
Right.
How does that fit in with the New Testament if this is Christ? What does God not do? Does God... Who's stopping the sacrifice of Isaac? Jesus. Who stops the sacrifice of Jesus?
No one.
No one.
No.
So why would that be conclusive that it's Christ? And
We're getting well, because part of it is that it's interrupting what God told him to do. Okay, you'll see in a minute because it takes it in the next couple of verses. You'll see there's more to it. So, but we just need to realize that part. It says he is God's messenger. He is stopping what will not be stopped if it's Jesus. He is stopping what will not be stopped for him. It's different. The idea is the Father could have just, done something, but the very one who's going to be the sacrifice is the one stopping this sacrifice. The picture will be stopped, but the reality will not be stopped. Let's see more about this. Amy, verse 12, it says, "And he said, do not stretch out your hand against the lad, and do nothing to him, for now I know that you fear God, since you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me." There's a little mixture there, isn't it?
I think just reiterating what we were talking about in the last verse about this is not just your average angel. This is your God. The Father had asked him to sacrifice his son, and so now he's saying, well, now that you won't withhold your son from me, meaning that it's obviously, part of the Trinity.
Well, put it in terms like you're reading it before you know that Jesus ever came. How odd would this seem?
I mean, I think it'd be strange too, because he's kind of talking about, now I know you fear God, but then you're withholding it from me.
Yeah.
So it's
it gives the idea there's
kind of confusing, like there's someone else there too.
Yeah. This is where you get this hint of the Trinity. Kind of odd, isn't it? He talks as if he's me. I mean, he could be just communicating what God said. That is an option, but it's kind of like you're kind of like pushing the limits if you're just an angel.
And he changed persons. He changes.
Yeah.
You fear God.
Yeah.
Hold it for me.
Yeah.
So really, he's talking about it's towards him. So he's obviously God.
Yeah.
Like it kind of.
Yeah. So what a connection to the New Testament, you see. I know. This is an interesting thing. Think about this statement. We learn that Abraham feared God by not withholding his son, his only son. And we know that God is to be feared because he didn't withhold his son, his only son. Isn't it kind of an interesting change? It both reveals to us about what? Abraham. But it also reveals to us about God. And it gets that weird, imagine reading this in the Old Testament after, it's like, something's weird there. If you didn't understand the New Testament, and it's odd that the New Testament doesn't necessarily quote this as a Christophany and point to this, but it seems very strongly there.
I think it's strange too because he says, "Now I know that you fear God."
Yeah.
He didn't know before. He waits till the last second. Is he really going to do this? And
Yeah.
it's hard to understand because Jesus and God know all things.
Yeah. Yep. It does bring out a.
You're kind of like, now you know, but you did, but we obviously see it from before, and it's like, well. Yeah.
You've displayed that you fear. You've shown that you fear God.
Yeah, I think God is pleased with the external. Someone like how I left Hezekiah apart to see what's in his heart. Just like God already knew, but there's a manifestation, and when there's, if we physically give Him praise, He knows it's in our heart when it comes out. Everyone's seen it. The angelic host is around us.
Yeah, so this is pointed out for a purpose, to see that this is pleasing to God. Elisha, verse 13, it says, Abraham raised his eyes and looked, behold, behind him was a ram caught in the thicket. By his horns, Abraham went and took the ram and offered him up as a burnt offering in the place of his son. 14, Abraham called the name of that place, the Lord Yahweh will provide, as it is said to this day, in the mountain of the Lord it will be provided. Pull together all those pieces there.
Okay. So instead of offering his son, he offers the ram that he finds.
Yep.
And then
where would God in the future provide, see to it that something is provided?
Say that again? What?
It says that in the mountain he will provide. What mountain are we talking about? So remember we talked about Mount Moriah?
Oh, are we still on that?
Yeah, that's the mountain. He says, so in Mount Moriah it would be provided. God would see to it that a substitute would be provided.
Okay.
You see how so this becomes, Jerusalem is the place where God would provide and see to it that a lamb was offered, my son, my only son, as a substitute. Yep. See how that? Look at this. Marinella says, and the angel of the Lord called to Abraham a second time from heaven and said to him, by myself I have sworn, declares the Lord, because you have done this thing and have not withheld your son, your only son. Indeed, I will greatly bless you, and I will greatly multiply your seed as the stars of heaven, as the sands which are on the seashore, and your seed shall possess the gates of their enemy. Who said that? See how the mixture of pronouns starts taking place? It says, he's the one who calls to him. And he says, and said, by myself. Yeah, declares Yahweh. I mean, he's either speaking on his behalf, but there seems to be like he's speaking on their behalf.
So there's no option that he's speaking through like the angelic host, like kind of like one of those things at the ball games. You know what I mean? Like he's just using it, like.
It seems
like the megaphone thing.
It could be. That's the idea. Is you have two options, so you have to think through. It's like, is he just using the angel? It seems a little bit more than just using the angel. It seems a lot more direct. Because the ones that aren't the angel of the Lord, they don't use it that way. They speak a little different, and we're going to see that as we go along. I mean, they talk a little different. Yeah.
I would say because it's like this is like word for word what God's saying, kind of like how Scripture was dictated. Yeah. Whereas when the angels are talking, they can kind of throw in their own, however they want to say it. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like as long as they get the point across, they can use their angel lingo or whatever it is. Like if they're from Brooklyn, they can talk like this. They can do their angel thing.
Yeah, Dave.
Is this tied anywhere in where Christ says, I have the authority to take up my life or lay it down? It's showing his authority over this.
It appears to be, as we'll find out, the angel of the Lord comes in this. He is actually fulfilling the promise of Abraham directly. He's the same one. He every time he says that, he uses the personal pronoun when he tells them.
Right, tying it to his future event.
Yeah, because it's just like, it's the same thing. He is the one bringing the blessing. So here he is. Being Christ, he is the one providing. He is the one purposely doing, and he is the one who will provide the sacrifice, the one talking and communicating.
He's his own sacrifice.
Yeah, and the thing is that he will bless because you didn't withhold your son, and he would be the son that offers it. It just gives us a little twist in this direction to make it more personal, divinely personal, how he's involved.
It's almost like it would really, like when God opens up all their eyes in Revelation, the Jewish eyes, they should see this is the connection, the connection that they would see, like, oh, wait a minute. Now.
Right, because it says, mourn as one as an only son. It actually uses that, mourns as an only son. So that's the, I will greatly multiply. In your seed, all the nations of the earth will be blessed because you have obeyed my voice. He's either quoting or he's talking. When he's the son, he can. So, all right, we are done. We